What's good, y'all, and welcome to SEMRAH Apocalypse 1 30,000. Now this is the team that we're going to go with, but before we go with the team, let's have a look at replacements based on my tier list. So, the replacement, let's start off with Wrath. Wrath you could replace with obviously Toreador, with the Piercer Lord, with the Esotericist Lord. It really depends on what kind of units you have for like the later categories to make it all work. Would I recommend replacing Volka? No, not really. Her damage reduction is just super crucial, and the only one I guess you could replace her with would be Alistair. Alistair is even better at keeping up that damage reduction than your Volka without exclusive artifact. But I do recommend using Alistair for Apocalypse 2 and Volka for Apocalypse 1. Next off we have Deimos. Deimos can be replaced by any of the following damage dealers there. It doesn't really matter if it, especially based on whatever faction you're going with, could be Arrogance, Lust, Zillitu. Honestly, it's your pick. Then we have Nazim. Nazim could be replaced by any of these other units that do apply stuns, burn, freezes, whatever the like, and yeah, really just make sure that that it all fits together well faction-wise. Same goes for Kalina. Kalina can be replaced by any of these units right here that either ignore defense, do a crap ton of damage, or they themselves also deal true damage the same way Kalina does. Then we got Isolde. Isolde, I wouldn't really recommend replacing Isolde. I would just go with her, because she just provides nice damage reduction and a nice Lord bonus overall. If you do have a King Horus, throw him in. If you get an Elder, kind of same thing. Then we got Midan. Midan, I wouldn't recommend replacing Midan unless you only intend to do Apocalypse 1 seriously, because the only real replacement would be Elowin, or I guess Eunomia for the fancy of Jarl that do actually own one. So Midan is going to stay right there. If not, if you're curious, here are other options of cleansers. Then we have Vortex. Vortex is just there to provide survivability. He has nice synergy with Isolde and Midan, so I do not recommend taking him out here. And then we have Mary. Mary brings vulnerability and freezes for the first phase. You can definitely build her very tanky, so you can take a bit of a pressure off of your healers, and she also is Northern faction, so she's an easy pick. And then Hollow is kind of almost required, because she provides rage vision to the entire team, and she's really crucial in allowing Midan to ult twice. So yeah, that's kind of the units that you can replace, the units that you want to replace. So let's get straight into the fight. Alright, so for most of this fight, at least until like the later parts, we will be going at 2 times speed, because it is going to be rather repetitive in a sense. But for the moment, we'll be starting off with a formation like this. So the reason why we're doing it like this is so that every one of our healers covers everyone, and Hollow here is next to Isolde, so that she becomes a bit more tanky. So we put a rather more squishy-ish units closer to Isolde, and then the more tankier ones a bit further away, and basically just build a formation around them. So here we go, very first phase. We'll start off with some extra rage regen. Our attacks, wait for the boss to do his thing, use Mary for the stuns, use Nazim for his stuns. His stuns are absolutely crazy, and we'll hit the max cap of 144% reduced attack rather easily. Furthermore, we'll also delay him, and that buys us then enough time to kill him here. Obviously, I guess the main takeaway here is survivability is key, and you do not need as much DPS as we have here, but you do need the survivability if you don't have the DPS. So these Earth Shatters, they aren't as dangerous, but we're just going to simulate them being one of the later ones. So that's why we're just using our abilities right here ready for the Aegis mode again. And then with the ground hit, that's fine. And then he'll do another Earth Shatter. We'll use another more defensive ability. There we go. And then throughout we'll just be using our ultimates trying to get him down to 0. Now right here, this is kind of the tricky phase. The most tricky part about this boss is gonna be surviving this poison. And the way I found to work best is going to be waiting out the very first poison until we get the next stacks. So right here, and then cleansing those and instantly bringing in Midan to ensure that, or instantly activating Hollow to ensure that Midan will ult as fast as possible. And then after this ground hit, and after this poison, the boss will use his Cyclops Gaze. His Cyclops Gaze is going to hit for quite a bunch of damage, and that's why we want to ensure that everyone is at max HP, even though there is the poison. So we use Vortex and Isolde to tank through that Cyclops Gaze, because that is like the most dangerous part. And the next step that you're also going to see later on is going to be then to once again use Hollow to get Midan up faster, and then use Midan to cleanse fully. So that's basically the rotations. We're already at 6k Mech Fragrance, and now we're basically doing the same thing over and over again. And even if some of our units die in this run, that's really at some point up to RNG. For example, the hardening stacks, they do actually rather randomly choose their target. Basically, yeah, they really randomly choose their targets, and especially with like the second phase going on and on, it's going to be more and more hardening stacks, meaning more and more rocks. And then there's always the potential that one of your units just gets hard focused, and that then ends up deleting them. Obviously, here, if you really aren't as confident or don't quite know the capabilities, do make sure that you time your ultimates properly. For example, we could have used Nassim a bit more differently for this part, but at the end of the day, it's going to be fine for like the next 1, maybe 2 rotations. So there we go with the Earth Shatter again, and because the Earth Shatter is dangerous, we'll just give us some extra survivability while we still then continue doing damage. Aegis mode, he again gains more damage reduction and increases the damage of Earth Shatter. So there we go with the normal hit and then the attack. Wait for another Earth Shatter, that's going to happen after Aegis mode. And here at around the 50% bar, you can definitely still use your Hollow, but you always need to make sure that when it comes to the poison phase and you do use your Midan, your Hollow has to be ready. Your Hollow has to be ready to be used there, or you're not really going to make it through. So far so good. Another Aegis mode, which means another Earth Shatter. Let's see if we still get it. We'll just use Vortex's ultimate, it's gonna be fine. And then we got it beat with a minute left. But we also would have been able to get a couple more ultimates out anyway. So from here on out, it's again going to be a bit more of the same thing. We're going to do damage, we get the first poison stacks. And the reason why we're trying to double cleanse is because if you cleanse the first one, you're going to end up with 2 stacks of poison that you can't cleanse, that are then going to completely screw you over in combination with the Cyclops Gaze. So right here we do the cleansing, we get the ultimate charge, we wait out the acidic venom, and then it's time to get on the defensive. So we activate both our ultimates to apply damage reduction as well as increase Vortex healing multiplier to ensure that the Cyclops Gaze doesn't kill any of our units. And then, like I said, here we go with the healing, and then you have a couple seconds of like a lot of poison stacks, but then you can after that easily cleanse those away. And then it's gonna be kind of basically the same rotation for us facing the next fight, because we are going to have to do it over again once more at that time. So far so good. Here we're not going to use Nassim because we're in a rather dangerous spot, in the sense that the boss is now starting to finally actually hit hard. So we are going to wait for him to start his mechanic whenever he decides to do so. There we go, Death Saw. So we bring in Mary, and for this first Death Saw we're just going to weaken it 4 times, and then go on the double defensive. So there we go. He hits us big. And then for the second saw, we're going to completely shut that one down. So we have the Cyclops Gaze, the next saw, which means Nazim and Mary, and we're going to go the full 144% damage reduction. There we go. Pretty weak hit. We can again once more fill ultimates, and then it would again be Mary plus Isolde and Vortex to hold out. But we're looking pretty fine here, because we did have enough damage. And there we go. That's just unlucky, I guess. It really just is unlucky. But we'll be bringing the units back. It's just gonna be taking a while. Here we got the Aegis mode. Then again, we already started prepare to defend against him doing his Earth Shatter. Here's again once more Aegis mode with the Earth Shatter. And also there is some RNG involved if you do not have Volka's exclusive artifact, because have a look at this. There's this debuff, right, that reduces the damage by 30%, which is absolutely massive, but if you don't have Volka's exclusive artifact, your uptime isn't going to be 100%. And if your uptime isn't going to be 100%, then there might be certain attacks where you just get hit harder than you're supposed to at that point in time. So for example, here we had the 30% damage reduction. There we go. And then for like that big starting hit, it just wasn't on. Alright, so far so good. We're down to the last 30%, and as you can see, he already has 6 hardening stacks, which means every time he does his Earth Shatter, he's also going to throw down 6 additional rocks. So here we're going to take a bit of a risk, but he's also starting to take like just a little bit of damage, which means our Holo should by all means be ready when we do actually need her. We'll also use Kalina. We did wait a bit here to give a bit more of a chance to our Holo to actually regenerate some rage. We're also down to 9 seconds, as you can see, so it's getting really close in terms of actually killing him here. The solution to that would be to just use more powerful units, right? For example, Nazim is completely on an off faction, Kalina is on an off faction, and we also did trigger Holo here. So I guess that's honestly that's almost probably RIP. Fuck. We shall see how this turns out. We'll see it to the end. So here we go, Acidic Venom, and with the Acidic Venom we'll be bringing in the defensive. We did survive the Cyclops Gaze, and normally right around now is when Midan should have been ready. It's almost, but as you can see, we made it way closer than it would have needed to be if we didn't waste Holo's ultimate like that. Alright, so once more we ult with Holo, try to get some more rage, have the Acidic Venom come in, and then deal with it again in the same way we're dealing with the earlier ones, so with the shield and with the reduction. And either we beat it before he does the next poison or after, it wouldn't really have mattered, and then we're just going to use Midan to then actually again cleanse the poison. Alrighty, now we are up to 25,300 something. And here it's going to be the same game plan. Here comes in the crushing hit, the big boy damage. Kalina died. More HP on Kalina would, for example, be something that could stop this. And then we have the Death Saw. So Death Saw is gonna be full on everything we have. We're going to keep Nazim though, because we really want to weaken that second hit as much as possible. So we have our healers in, we have our damage reduction in, the attack comes in at 4, it does kill Nazim, and that's not looking all that good. But to be honest, it's gonna be fine. We're just going to again reduce the damage by 4, bring in Midan's ultimate for the extra defense, the shields, and then overall just push onwards. Kalina can once more go in, bit of a ground slam there, and then again Mary with the 4 reduction. 1, 2, 3, 4. But this is gonna be a big hit and it's gonna hurt. Yep. But luckily enough, every one of our units was able to tank the full 30k damage. Alright, so we are at a minute left. Nazim is finally back in, ready to dominate this phase right here. And the good part is we do not need to be able to beat the true damage phase, nor do we need to be able to deal with another poison phase to successfully get 30k. So in we go, 30k. I guess just for the sake of it, let's see how far we can make it. Nazim again dead. It's basically getting to the point where his HP isn't enough anymore, especially because he's on an off faction. To be honest, I don't think we have the damage, at least in this comp, to be able to beat him before the time runs out. But we might as well continue onwards. Now, honestly, to be fair, we got our 30k. Let's not waste any more time here. Pick up all our units and then have a look at who actually did how much. And Mary goes. There we go, 31,000 mech fragments. We are obviously going to hit the do not save because we don't want to lock our units out, especially not on a test server. And then would you look at this, we have obviously surprisingly also Deimos on second place, Wrath in first, Volka in third, and then Nazim and Kalina rather low. And then healing wise, 6 million from Vortex and Midan each, 3 million from Hollow, and then even some the reason why they have healing is because of the self healing, right? For example, Deimos has self healing, she has self healing, Mary even got some self healing here, so that's why these numbers look like this. Alright, now it's time for the final part of this video, and that is obviously going to be gear. How did we gear our units? Yeah, the answer is pretty simple. Because we are not running a Dolores, we have to go with more and more attack. So on Wrath, for example, we're looking at around 260-270% attack, and then above 200 attack speed, 100% crit rate, and then 130% crit damage, with an artifact being the 25 Wailing Skull. Again, the crucial part is if you're using stronger units, you need less gear. That's just the way it works. Volka is going to be again same thing in Infernal Raw gear, though with the exception here having given her high attack speed. The reason for the high attack speed is just so she does more basic attacks and has a higher chance of giving us that damage reduction. But to be honest, I really just highly recommend magically crafting her exclusive artifact. That one's gonna make your life more easier, way more easier, and you can then just go full on attack. That's kind of the way to build. Now one more crucial thing is I would go for at least on the fighters like a 50%, if not a bit more, HP bonus. Especially if your artifacts are lower, you might even need a bit more. If we take a peek again at her here, it's basically somewhat above a 50% HP bonus, right there. And then Deimos also basically, Deimos wasn't running a set. Now that explains why he did less damage than a Wrath. So I guess that's a good thing. That makes this fight a bit more accessible. But yeah, stat-wise, you would preferably want to go for 300% attack, 200 attack speed, 100% crit rate, 100 whatever percent crit damage you manage. And then we just gave him a frigid flame because we were kind of running out of artifacts to actually use when it comes to our fighters. Now Nazim. Nazim had a bit of a funky gear situation, and that is because his base HP are really low. So we actually went with full HP percent here, HP percent substat here, HP flat over here, HP percent here, and some more HP percent. Obviously, just use a different stunner from the mentioned units, and then you don't need to build as much HP. But yeah, and then also Tear of Twilight with it, again another 4000 HP. I guess the magic threshold really is basically 30,000. You should try to reach 30,000 total HP. And then we have Kalina. Kalina has a funky build. So here it only matters that we have attack and attack speed. This one only matters attack, attack flat, attack speed, rage region with some extra HP. Here we have attack with attack speed and HP percent. Over here we have attack. And here we have some more attack. Those are the only things that matter. Give her HP, give her attack speed, give her attack and rage region. You do not need crit rate, you do not need crit damage. And artifact, if you have it, obviously Tear of Twilight does the job, but you might also have to want to give her a Keen Wisdom. Now Isolde could be whatever tank gear you have, just make sure that you hit these kind of stats with it, which is going to be 300% HP, 100% defense, whatever attack speed you can manage, and then some rage region. And artifact wise, it doesn't need to be a Bastion Ring, especially because it's only one guy attacking her, so it could be honestly whatever you have, some extra healing, some extra rage region. It really depends. Then we have our Midan. Now our Midan has a bit of a more interesting build, and that is going to be HP percent, and rage region. Now the reason why we have rage region here is so that we kind of fill that above 40/60% rage region quota. You could also have rage region on the substats on these gear pieces and then give us some more health, which would help with keeping other units alive. And artifact wise, we have a golden scarab, but the golden scarab benefit is really rather negligible because you already have 60% rage region. Vortex. So Vortex is pretty much the case that we had with Midan that you would want to go for. So high HP, high attack speed, high rage region, and that's everything you wanna get in pieces. Though at least for the Vortex it wasn't as crucial that he had this 60% rage region, and artifact was another golden scarab, but again diminishing returns because we're already above 60. Mary is going to be rather simple. We're running her in HP, attack speed, and then HP with some more HP and HP. So basically you really just want to reach that magic 30k threshold, and yeah, we have the artifact to gain some extra rage, which means we'll be able to ult every time the Death Saw comes up, and attack speed should be somewhere around the 300, so she can continuously keep up these icicles, giving us the beautiful 20% vulnerability. And then the last hero is gonna be Hollow. So Hollow has HP percent with rage region and attack speed, HP percent with attack speed, rage region with attack speed and HP percent, then some rage region and attack speed, and rage region and attack speed with obviously a bit of HP percent sprinkled in. Obviously doesn't need to be an attack set, her attack could be lower and she would still perform the same. Artifact wise, we had the Euphoric Orb on her. So yeah, keep in mind 30k HP is what you really want to aim for at like a minimum, and if your Volka is on her exclusive artifact, life is gonna be easier. And also don't make your life too hard, swap out different characters and you're going to find success.